What's up everybody and welcome back to another video. I am the Hobbyist, and today I'm going to be comparing the Axial Scx10 Unimog kit to the Axial Scx10 Jeep Wrangler JLU kit. Now, these two are from the Scx10 line, obviously. Obviously the Scx10 is a little bit older. The Scx10 just came out last year. But anyway, I think they're worth a comparison because I've seen some comparisons online, but they left out a lot of things. So, the reason that I'm comparing the Unimog kit to the Wrangler kit, as opposed to like the Wrangler RTR that comes in the Scx10 version, is because all of the Scx10s are pretty much exactly the same, except for this one. This one has a couple extra bonus pieces, and it makes it a little bit more of an even contender to this kit. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So I'm going to be covering 4 things in today's comparison. The first is going to be the ease of building the kit. The second is going to be design elements on both vehicles. The third is going to be scale details on both vehicles. And the fourth will be overall bang for your buck. So, without further ado, let's start with the ease of building the kit. Starting with the Scx10 Unimog, I will say that it is a relatively easy kit to put together. All of the plastics come on parts trees, which is fine. Comes with some pretty cool parts along the bumper, lots of metal pieces, which are very, very welcome. But overall, very, very simple. Any builder, I'd say, who's built a kit before could easily assemble this kit. Now, the Scx10 kit, I would say, is even easier to build than the Scx10 kit. All of the parts for each step come in their own bags, so you don't have to hunt for parts. Everything comes, the plastics, the metals, the hardware, everything you need, any fluids, and there are no parts trees. Everything is all cut right from the factory. You don't have to go and cut away any of the parts trees, which means everything fits perfectly and there's no additional trimming that you may need to do. Alright, now let's focus on design elements. One other thing to note is that this body is uncut and in multiple pieces, and in certain areas, like around here, that is really difficult. This body is pre-cut, which makes life so much easier, and I just thank Axial so much for pre-cutting this body. So I'm going to have the vehicles side by side for talking about the design elements, because I'm kind of going to go back and forth comparing different things. Now, remember, these both come as kits, so ignore the electronics that you see in both of these rigs, because you know, electronics, you know, you can do whatever you want with your electronics. Anyway, we're going to start off at the front and work our way back, and I'm going to go back and forth between each vehicle, pointing out the different elements. Bumpers, the Scx10 Unimog comes with a pretty wide bumper. The Scx10 Wrangler comes with a CRC bumper, which is actually licensed, so that's pretty cool. But those aren't as big of a deal. Just coming up to the front, so they both have chassis-mounted servos. As you can see, here's the chassis-mounted servo on the 10.2, and then the chassis-mounted servo on the 10.3 is hiding right here. The Scx10 has the battery tray up front, which is a very nice thing, getting the weight further forward, whereas the Scx10 has the battery tray right here, which is, you know, it's still medium. It's not like in the far back, although there is an option for you to mount it in the very back if you want to. I don't know why'd you really do that, because that would really hurt your crawling ability. Anyway, as far as motor positions go, the Scx10 has the motor kind of mid-mounted right here, as you can see. Sorry about all these wires. But medium motor, that's pretty standard procedure. The Scx10 however, has the motor up front in this really cool scale engine, and I really like this detail because for those of us that are making these into trail trucks and you really want those scale details, this scale V8 engine is very, very nice to see, and it complements the scale transmission. Now, looking at the transmissions, both of these have 2-speed compatible transmissions. The Scx10 Unimog comes with the transmission, but it does not come with the gears you need to run a 2-speed. So this is configured for just single speed, which is kind of unfortunate if it's 2-speed compatible, but that's the case on this one. This, on the other hand, has a 2-speed transmission with the dig functionality, controlled by 2 microservos. Now, unlike the 10.2, the 10.3 comes with all of the gears and all the servo horns and everything you need to make both 2-speed and dig run. They also come with lockout spacers if you don't want to have either or. Obviously, in mine, I put in both. But they run on 2 Spectrum SX1007 microservos. And also, this transmission is much more scale. You guys can see, that looks very, very scale. Going from the engine right down. I painted mine silver. It comes black as standard, but I painted mine silver to be more realistic. Comes down, has the offset front drive shaft, and then the centered rear drive shaft. So it's just a much more scale design, and it looks very, very nice. As far as chassis are concerned, the SCX10 has a twin ladder frame chassis, which is pretty standard. The SCX10 however, has a I guess 4-piece ladder frame chassis, 2 pieces on each side, which gives you adjustable wheelbase. So say you bought this kit but you wanted to put the Gladiator body or a longer truck body on it, then you can totally do that, because you can widen out the rails and just adjust your lengths. Another really obvious thing from this view is the SCX10 comes with these great inner fenders all the way around and these elongated flat panels, whereas the SCX10 just comes with the 2 kind of short, low-profile flat panels. And for scale looks, that's really cool. And then the fender wells also have special cutouts with bolts for putting in underglow lights. It doesn't come with the underglow lights, obviously, but you can put them in, as you can see I have done. So it's a very cool feature, and you know, underglow, that's always fun as well. So that's pretty much it for things that you can see up here. Oh, one more thing. So body mounting. Both of these trucks feature hidden body mount systems, which is fantastic because then there's no very viewable body clips. On this truck, you can see I have it hinged up. It's on a hinge in the back, and because of these lights, I can't unfold it all the way, so I've got it propped up. But there are 2 hidden body clips right here. On the SCX10 there are 2 in the front and 2 in the back, and so 4 hidden body clips. They can be a bit fiddly to get connected, but once they are, it looks seamless, and it really does set off that iconic scale look. So that's it for stuff up top. So now let's look at them from the underside. Alright, so looking at the underside of these trucks, there's a couple things to note. First of all, the SCX10 has these aluminum links, which are very strong. They're very beefy looking, very, very nice. The SCX10 has stainless steel links. These are the same links from the Capra, they're just shorter. And it also has the hardened pillow ball retainers. And unlike the 10.2, the 10.3 has stainless steel pillow balls all around, which is a very, very nice touch. A lot of people were complaining about that on the 10.2. Underneath, they both, for center shafts, have the wild bore drive shafts. These are a proven design. The metal U-joint, obviously. But very, very nice design, and I don't see Axial ever changing it because nobody ever really breaks them. Now, the big change between an SCX10 and an SCX10 is the portal axles. As you can see, the SCX10 has these very straight axles. The center line of the axle lines up with the center line of the wheel. With portals, it's different. The center line of the axle is above the center line of the wheel, which means you get more ground clearance underneath the axle. A lot of people loved this on the Traxxas TRX4, and when Axial came out with this on the Capra, everyone was going crazy. Now they've brought it to their trail truck, so now the SCX10 featuring portal axles front and rear. And another fun scale detail, you'll notice that the 10.2 has a centered front pumpkin. The 10.3 has a offset front pumpkin, which is much more realistic to how a real car looks. Other things to mention, the 10.2 features the aluminum version of their plastic shocks, which kind of have a leaking problem, and people weren't really a big fan of those. They solved that with the SCX10 The SCX10 has the new shortened Capra shocks, which are a much, much nicer shock, and I haven't had any leaking problems with them yet. While we're looking here, the shock towers on The SCX10 III are made of a harder plastic. These are made from a Losi plastic for Team Losi Racing, so it's a much tougher plastic, which is very nice to see. That's pretty much about it. There's a couple other like really subtle differences. For example, on the SCX10 III, I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hidden behind the steering arm, but there's the new Z-bend. There it is, Panhard link. It's thinner. Some people like that, some people don't. I personally don't mind it compared to the SCX10 II, which has the really beefy. You guys can't see that, but it's got that really beefy Panhard, which is the same as the steering mount. Receiver boxes, they both have waterproof receiver boxes. They're sealed. The SCX10 IIs is much bigger than the SCX10 IIIs, and I kind of wish they could have made the 10 III's receiver box a little bit bigger, especially because they're encouraging you to run a 4-channel receiver if you want dig and 2-speed. As far as bracing goes, I mean, it's a very rigid chassis. There may be a little bit of flex, very, very little, and it's better than the 10 II by a long ways. The 10 II's only got this one brace right here, whereas the 10 III's got this brace, it's got another brace here, another one here. So it's a little bit more rigid and stable, as well as there's also, with the portals and the new Panhard mount, this has a whole lot less torque twist when driving, and I have noticed that it is a much more noticeable difference when you're driving these two things next to each other. To give you guys an idea of how much of a difference these portals make, look at the SCX10 II and how I can fit maybe just barely 3 fingers underneath the diff pumpkin. Now look at the 10 III, I can easily fit 4 fingers underneath. So that's about an extra ½ inch of ground clearance, which is very nice to see. They both have the very nice steel CVD drive shafts in the front, and then steel rods in the rear. Again, here those stainless steel mounts on the 10 III versus the aluminum ones on the 10 II. Again, 10 III's got the hardened plastic rod ends and stainless steel pillow balls versus the regular plastic rod ends and the plastic pillow balls. But overall, it's a very, very nice setup. Also, when you look at these two vehicles, you will notice that the 10 III has got a nice amount of bracing right here. And also, there's the one mount, because it's running, both of these trucks run 3-link with a Panhard in the front. So there's the one third link right there mounted on the 10 III. On the 10 II, it looks like they kind of redesigned the back axle, because there's a second mount here, as if maybe if you wanted to run 4-link. I don't know how that worked. I guess that would could work. I don't know. I've never run CMS chassis mounted servo with a 4-link setup, but it could work. If any of you guys have tried that, let me know down in the comments section. Okay, now that we've covered all of the real big design differences, now let's talk about some pretty cool scale details. And now, starting off with the chassis, before I put the bodies on, I already mentioned the extremely cool faux engine that hides the motor. The motor's hiding right here, but you can't see it. And then the very scale transmission of the SCX10 III, as well as these inner fender wells, the licensed bumpers. The tires are also licensed, but again, this I'm not going to talk about tires, because depending on which version of the SCX10 II you get, it's different. Cool, again, CRC rock sliders. These are a 2-piece rock slider, very rigid, very nice to see. But overall, these are just really cool scale details just underneath the chassis. The fender wells, you know, keep everything closed up, and it all works very well. You can even get a 3D printed part that puts the other 4 engine banks of the V8 over the servo so they can't see it. I'm definitely going to be doing that mod in the future. Alright, now looking at the 10 II, obviously the bumper, it's not licensed, but I mean, what can you do about that? The straight axles are a bit more scale than the portal axles, although you can get portal axles for a real Jeep. Not the JL, you can get it for the JK. So straight axles are a bit more scale on the 10 II's part. However, you can get a straight axle kit for the SCX10 III now. So if you want all the scale pieces, then you can totally get the straight axle kit. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of scale going on the underside of the SCX10 II. So now let's put the bodies back on, and I'll point out different details. With the bodies on, I'm gonna point out different scale elements, starting off with the SCX10 So let's put the SCX10 aside for a sec and just focus on the 10.2 Unimog. Obviously, it's a Mercedes Unimog, but it's not a licensed body, unfortunately. So it's not the most accurate thing, but it looks extremely scale anyway. So obviously, you've got the cab. It's got a very nice scale interior. There you can see in there. Got the driver. There's a plastic steering wheel. There's some stickers in there. All very nice. Over here, we've got some review mirrors with reflective decals on them. So you've got full review mirrors. You got this very cool scale snorkel as well. And then you've got the bumper and headlights. These all are lenses and can have lights installed, and the bumper right here also has areas for 2 lights to be installed. Looking around this way, you've got the plastic door handles and then a full external roll cage. This all is bolts onto the body. You've got the very cool spare tire. This is a functional spare tire, so if you break one of these ones, I guess you can put that one on. You've got the tanks, and then depending on how you paint it, you've got these really cool fenders. And then if we look around the back, there is 2 more slots right here for you to put in lights. So that's basically the SCX10 Unimog. It's pretty scale, I'll give it that, but now let's get into the SCX10 Looking at the SCX10 this is a licensed Jeep Wrangler Rubicon JLU body with a CRC bumper package, fully scale. So you've got the plastic fender flares on front and rear, so those bolt on inside. You've got the light buckets. Those have spots for lights. They're chromed out. And you've got a radiator behind the grill. That's also plastic. Looks very, very nice. Up top here, you've got these kind of vent things. And then you've got the de-icer area and windshield wipers. Look very, very scale. Right here, you've got the review mirrors with reflective decals. Right here, you've got like the hood latches. On Jeeps, you undo those and you can lift up the hood. You've got scale door handles right here, which look fantastic. Inside, it's a 4-door Jeep, so it's got the 5 seats right here. You guys can kind of see, there's the driver. You can paint him up. It's got a full scale steering wheel and dashboard. There you go. So you can kind of see in there, it's got a bunch of different dials and stuff. Moving down the back now, there is a full internal roll cage, and right here you can see part of it. So that goes all the way around. It's not as visible as I would like it to be. There's another bit of it right there. You can kind of see it. There it is. But it's still a very, very cool feature, and it's kind of reminiscent of a real Jeep. Right here, there is a scale gas cap, and if you look very closely, I don't know if you can see that, but it says fuel on it in very, very tiny text. Now, if we go around the back, it's got full tail light lenses that protrude out. Those also have light buckets as well, so you can light those up. Rear door handle, a license plate carrier. Now it comes with 2 different California license plate stickers, or if you're like me, you can go to rcplateshop.com, link to them in the description, and you can get a license plate for your state and or country. Now, these 3D printed parts do not come with the kit. Now, I had these custom printed, but there is space in the cargo bay for quite a bit. As you can see, I fit in a toolbox, a cooler, first aid kit, a water tank, and some propane tanks. So, just to give you an idea of something that you can do with this vehicle, put stuff in the back, and then somewhere in there, you can kind of see I've put in a review mirror as well. There it is. So anyway, that is the SCX10 It has just so many scale accessories. Being licensed, obviously, it will come with more scale accessories. And then the bonus, a lot of aftermarket manufacturers have come out with a lot of scale pieces for this. You can get like mud flaps that say Jeep on it. You can get full like stamped metal hinges if you don't want to do the stickers. I'm going to be putting that on. As I mentioned earlier, you can get the other 4 piston banks for the V8 engine. You can get roof racks. You can get all sorts of crazy stuff. So Now it's time for me to tell you which I would say is the most bang for your buck. Now, just looking at cost alone, now I'm gonna, full disclosure right away, I'm gonna try and be as unbiased as possible. However, this truck does not belong to me, this belongs to my father. This truck does belong to me, so I am a bit of a SCX10 fanboy, if you can say that. But I'm gonna try and remain as unbiased as possible with his evaluation. So, looking at both trucks, the SCX10 Unimog kit retails for $299.99 US. That doesn't include tax. The SCX10 kit retails for $369.99 US, not including tax. So the SCX10 is quite a bit more expensive. Now let's look at what you get with both. With this, you get straight axles, you get a 2-speed compatible transmission. It doesn't come with a 2-speed, but you do get this very cool Mercedes Unimog look, which is unique because, let's be realistic here, most axial trail trucks are Jeeps because they have a license with Jeep. Anyway, apart from that, you still get a very, very proven platform. And for $300 overall, that's not a bad truck. I would highly recommend anybody who wants to get a trail truck to get this vehicle. Now, if we look at the SCX10 you will see, obviously, it's a licensed body, so you get this majorly scale vehicle. I wish I had the SCX10 Jeep Wrangler to show you guys, because that one, despite being licensed, it was not nearly as well done as this. This one is just absolutely fantastic looking. And then on top of that, you get a scale chassis design with the scale engine, the scale transmission. You get dig and 2-speed already. And then obviously you get the portal axles, which is a big thing right now. For you competition guys, you're probably like, portal axles, that doesn't make sense. I agree with you. I have a comp rig that doesn't have portal axles, but for trail trucks that, you know, run on shorter tires and stuff like that, portal axles are very nice to have. Think of when the TRX4 came out. It was one of the most popular vehicles, and those portal axles worked really well. And the portal axles on the SCX10 work very well as well. Among that, you get the licensed CRC bumpers and rock sliders, which CRC is an actual company that does parts for full-size Jeep Wranglers and other Jeeps. But which one would I choose just on the kit alone? I am going to say neither of them. It is all up to what you want most. My father bought this because he thought that the Unimog looks absolutely fantastic. If you aren't a Jeep fan, like for me, I'm a pretty big Jeep fan and I think this body looks great. But if you're not a Jeep fan, say, you know, you're a Ford or a Chevy fan, you know, maybe this isn't as appealing, this super cool scale body isn't as appealing to you. But this comes with portals and some other scale bits. Now, I will say the transmission does have a little bit of a clicking problem, and I don't know what you can do about that, but it does make a little bit of a click noise. So, it will really either go either way. I would personally take the SCX10 but this one's mine, obviously, and I told you guys at the beginning of this, I am biased towards this vehicle, so I would pick this one personally. But there's still a very good market for the SCX10 As for bang for your buck, when it's all said and done, if you bought the SCX10 and just built it up as is, you didn't buy the 2-speed kit for it, so it's just a motor, an ESC, a steering servo, and a receiver, that's probably going to cost you just a little bit over of what this kit will cost you alone. This kit, you have to get a 4-channel receiver, which are generally more expensive, 2 micro servos, a steering servo, and a motor and ESC. So, when you consider all that, this comes out to be quite a bit more expensive. Maybe money's no object for you, I don't know. Or maybe you don't want to put in the 2-speed or the dig, which means you can save some money on 2 microservos and a lesser channeled receiver. So, again, it's completely up to you. If I were to pick one, I'd take the SCX10 because it's newer, it's got portal axles, it's definitely much more scale looking. But I would say don't shy away from the 10.2. The 10.2 is still a very respectable truck. It has been Axial's flagship trail truck for over 4 years. This is the new kit on the block. It's been out for just under a year, and it's doing pretty well. And I would say between the two of them, this is definitely an upgrade from this. But this is still a great platform, not just on its own, but for custom projects. I've seen so many people online build this up and do completely crazy things with it. And you can get this in a raw builder's kit, which doesn't come with a body, wheels, and tires, so you can make it your own. You can only get this kit in the Jeep form. Now, if you go to the RTR, then you can get this in the Jeep Wrangler or the Jeep Gladiator, but again, those are both Jeeps, and if you're not a Jeep fanboy like me, then that might not be appealing to you. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed my comparison between the Axial SCX10 and the Axial SCX10 If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment in the section below for what videos you'd like to see next. But that's all for today, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.